Well, to become free, we must first define what freedom is. If you Google the definition, it says, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. This is good, but I like to define freedom as simply having the ability to live a life that one truly desires to live. This is the ultimate goal, to pursue your own goals, passions, and dreams with whatever values and rules that you choose to follow. To have full control over your own life and get the most out of your existence however you see fit. Based off of this definition, would you consider yourself free? Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you have your thoughts? What is your purpose in life, and did you decide on that? Are you building your own life, or was it a plan that someone else gave to you? Do you have control over your life, over your time? Do you even have control over your own mind? If your life ended right now, could you look yourself in the eye and say, I did it my way? Let's split freedom into 3 different parts. All 3 parts of freedom are connected. In order to be truly free, we need to have a balance of all 3. Also, real quick, I broke this video down into different sections because it is very long, so you can easily navigate and go to what's more interesting to you. You can skip around and come back later because it is a long video, and I have some visuals, but you can treat it more like an audiobook if you want to. But I do recommend watching and listening to each part because they do play into one another. I do seriously believe that this video can change your life if you give it your full attention, and I really do mean that. So if this video does change your life, I hope it does for the better. Let's go. The official definition of liberty is the
state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one ways of life, behavior, political views.
This is fine, but I like to think about it as physical freedom, which is simply having full control and choice over your physical body. This is the base of true freedom because without this, you're nothing. It's you living in a safe place where you are free to make your own choices, either good or bad. No one's putting a gun to your head telling you have to do X, Y, and Z. Your basic survival needs are taken care of. You can pursue happiness however you see fit. Are you a young, able-bodied person living in America or another first world country? If so, then you already have physical freedom and liberty. And if you have physical freedom, you have all the potential in the world to achieve greatness. Because in this, you have the freedom to read, learn, express, move, and think. These are huge things that people take for granted. If you're like me, then these have been yours since the moment you were born, and they seem like common sense to have or a given. But this would have been completely different just a few generations ago, or even in other places in the world today. Even the ability to simply move your limbs and control your mind. Like right now, lift up your arm, kick your feet, and think about a white flower and what your last meal was. Great. There are some people who can't even do that. And I'm not making fun of them in any way, but it's the reality. It's one of those things you don't really think about until it's gone. And if you do have the ability right now, think about how much power you have and how much things would be different without that ability. Because one day, it is going to be gone. Your ability to control your body and your life will be gone. We're getting dark pretty early, but first of all, you're going to die one day. And along that way, you could lose your limbs or the ability to control your own mind. Illnesses, accidents, or just the randomness of life can limit your physical abilities and restrict your freedom. One day, your memories might fade. You might not be able to move without crutches or a wheelchair. You might lose one of your senses. But one day, all of your physical freedom will be gone. That is a promise. And when it's gone, nothing else matters. So if you're a young human being living in a first world country, the amount of potential you have is fucking ridiculous. And I'm not saying it's impossible to become free if you're born in another country, but living in America with all the tools we have today make it exponentially easier. If you're living in a free country and you're watching this video, right now, you can do whatever you want within reason, of course. You have access to the internet. You can see and learn whatever you want. Your living standards are better than most people ever. And you have all human knowledge available to you to build off of. Like in some countries, you can't even learn whatever you want. You have limited access to the internet and you're constantly being watched. There's war, violence, tyranny, and true discrimination, unsanitary living conditions. There are so many things that we take for granted. And I'm not saying these things to make you feel bad about where you are, but rather help you appreciate how lucky you are. Even if the position you're in isn't absolutely perfect, it could be so much worse. I can guarantee all your ancestors would kill to be where you are right now. Education is probably the biggest thing that stops people from achieving things in their life. Without education, you don't even know there's options, different paths to go down. You can't even begin walking down a path to freedom because you don't even know that it exists. We are brought into this world literally knowing nothing except for our immediate environment and what our parents tell us about the world. So if your environment is shit, you're screwed. Well, not screwed, but it makes it exponentially harder. But you having access to the internet changes everything. 100 years ago, all you knew was working on a farm or in a factory from age 12, working 12-hour shifts. But today, you have access to everything. You can see people living amazing lives and learn how they do it. Any question you have can be answered in seconds. You can see any part of the world. You can learn from the mistakes of dead humans generations ago. You can communicate with anyone halfway across the world instantly. You can figure out how to make money, get in shape, fix a tire, change a light bulb, make a cake, whatever you want. That is so cool and powerful and something a lot of people don't have. So if you do have the privilege to learn anything instantly, fucking use it. This is the most important type of freedom because nothing matters if you can't control your body or any aspect of your life. If you don't have control over your actions or your education, then you don't have any control over your future. But unfortunately, this is the one type of freedom that you don't have much control over. Either you have it or you don't, unless you move to another country, which is hard. Physical freedom is the only freedom that fades over time. As you age, your body wears down and you physically and mentally can't do nearly as much as compared to whenever you were young. So if you're young, healthy, living in a first world country, appreciate and use the opportunity you have because one day you will not have it. A lot of people have liberty, but a lot of people do not. And having liberty on its own doesn't make you free, which I'll go into in a minute, but without it, you're nothing. It simply gives you the ability to choose where your life will go. Hold on, I really want to emphasize this point. Physical freedom is beyond the most important freedom. This is your health, your youth, your mortality. This is the one thing that people who are older wish they had. Not more money, not more status or cars, but time and youth. Without this freedom, you cannot do anything else I am talking about. This is the foundation. If you truly want to be free in this world and get the most out of your existence, then you need to be free as soon as possible so you can have the time and opportunity to enjoy your life. I don't care about when people say that you're young, take it slow, you have time to build your life. You do not know that. It doesn't matter what age you are. You could die at any time and it's just over. The longer you live, the chances just get higher and higher that you're not going to wake up tomorrow. And one day you are guaranteed to not see the next. You could be 20 and die 5 years from now. I know people that have died at a younger age than me, and I'm only 22. Even if you have 40 more years left of life, once you take off sleep, you only have a good 26 years left of existence, and that's just it. Not including anything else you got to fill your life up with. This is just time awake. Without control over your body and mind, nothing fucking matters. If you have the freedom to control your mind, your body, and your choices, you have the freedom, ability, and opportunity to achieve more than anyone or anything ever. Do not waste it. Please. Financial freedom is having enough money to cover all your needs, giving you the ability to make your own choices, live life on your own terms, and have full control over your time. It's pursuing your personal goals without having to worry about clocking into a job or stressing out about a bill. It's buying whatever you want without looking at the price or having to be somewhere at a certain time because your boss said so. It's having the resources to invest in your own growth and education, as well as supporting your loved ones and giving back to others. You can fly there, eat that food, buy that shirt, and do whatever you truly want at any moment without any limits because you control your life. It's basically living life on creative mode. It doesn't necessarily mean being stupid wealthy. Like, you don't have to be a billionaire or anything, but it's having more than enough to live a good life, whatever that means to you. Now, I want to get this out the way because I know people are going to say something about this. Money is not everything. Obviously, there are more important things than money, but I would argue that aside from health, money is the most important thing that someone can focus on. Without money, the potential of your life is limited. Your life is a combination of time and experiences, and without financial freedom, you cannot control your time and you are closed off to a lot of experiences. In my opinion, having your whole life tied to money is a form of slavery in the modern world. Most people spend 8 to 10 hours every single day working a job they don't like to survive and barely pay the bills. Wake up, go to a job, get a check, and spend this check trying to recharge and distract yourself to go back to work to get another check. It's a constant cycle, just living for money. You give up hours, days, and years of your life that you can never get back for something that can be printed instantly. Give up time with your family, sacrifice your dreams, your health, your life, everything. And I'm not saying working a job is bad, but understand that if you work a job forever and that is your goal, you will never be truly free. You can never hope to be free if you can't even control your own time. The time aspect is the biggest benefit of money. Billionaires will give up everything just for more time. The amount of time you have left is unknown, and once it's gone, nothing matters because you're gone. Forever times infinity, and then forever beyond that. So if your time is already so limited and you're guaranteed to not ever exist one day, why wouldn't you try to get the most out of this time? Imagine if you could spend your time doing what you actually cared about with people you love. If you're able to focus and spend real time on your mind and body. Spend time with your kids and give them amazing experiences and raise them into strong functioning adults. Spend time with your dog instead of leaving them alone for 8 hours every single day to work on a meaningful project instead of doing the same repetitive, mind-numbing actions on autopilot. Spending your time gaining knowledge and improving your life instead of trying to impress people who don't give a shit about you. A lot of people think they're free, but they don't even control their time. And this lack of control over their time is why most people aren't free and will never be free. The thing that brings people happiness is freedom and autonomy over their time in their life. Seriously, just for a second, think about how many things would be fixed in your life if money wasn't an issue and you have full control over your time. The other benefit is the fact that you're simply able to do and have more. Not just material things, which is a bonus, but the experiences of the human experience are unlocked when you have money. You can taste different foods, see and touch different places all across the planet. You can disappear to the woods and meditate for a year if you wanted to. Eat real foods instead of processed bullshit. You can race across mountain roads in a sports car. You have access to different people. You can actually stop and find true peace within yourself. You can impact millions and billions of people all the way across the world. The whole world and everything it has to offer becomes open to you. You finally have options and choices. You can live life your way. Have you ever seen a really nice house, a nice car, a beautiful place, or just something that's really nice? And then you realize that there is someone who is buying that thing. Like they didn't just make that thing for shits and giggles, but because there is someone on the other end who's going to buy that thing. Like there are humans out there who you don't even know who are getting a car worth someone's whole life work. People who are going to a movie theater on a Tuesday morning because they have the time and they feel like it. Like there are people out there who are truly free. The world to them is a literal playground while everyone else is slaving away. This video is going to be pretty long, so I'm just going to talk for a second because I assume your attention span is pretty decent. But I saw this in real life. I'm going to put a picture right here. So I used to work at a Publix in a fairly wealthy area, and I saw this in a parking lot. For those who don't know, this is a Ford GT. A Ford GT is a really high-end car that Ford makes that's worth around $1 million. I'm a car guy, and I was really excited because this was by far the most expensive car I've ever seen. Like I've seen McLaren and Porsches and Aston Martins, but I've never seen like $1 million car right in front of me. So at the time I was making $9.50 an hour, and I decided to do some math. Basically, I realized that I would need to work for 52 years straight, living in a box, saving my complete paycheck, working full time, making $9.50 to be able to afford that one car. And I was 18 at the time. So I would literally need to be working until I was 70 years old, somehow avoiding spending a single penny to be able to afford that one car. And then I thought about my manager who told me he was making around $115,000. Let's say it's $100,000 a year. And even then, it's a fucking decade of working nonstop, saving every single penny, living in a box for my manager, the one everybody looked up to be able to afford one car. And at that time, $100,000 a year job was the most I can really think of. But the more I really thought about it, I was just like, if he's able to have $1 million car, how much is his house? How much is his clothes? How much is any other thing in your life? Because usually, unless you're like an extreme car guy, you're making money off of it. Usually a car is not going to be your most valuable thing. Usually it's like a small part of your net worth. So if this guy was able to have $1 million for a car, how much money was this guy making? And then if he was making this money, how? Because you could not do it from a regular job. It just shows that there's another path out there, because that car is a 1% car. You do not get a car like that doing what everyone else is doing. So the point of the story is that I don't know if other people feel about this, but whenever I see something that's really expensive or something that I really want and I see it in person, it just makes the dream tangible. It shows that it's actually possible. And the people who are doing this stuff actually exist. And if another human can do it, then I can do it. If I just kept listening to what everyone else was doing, I was going to be in a Camry, not my dream car. Even though that's not my dream car, but you get the point. Even when forming stronger relationships with those around you, money can help. Imagine how many divorces wouldn't happen if money wasn't an issue. If you could spend real time with your friends, your family, your significant other, to build a strong relationship with them without having to run off to a job in a few hours. Imagine if you could give your kids everything they've ever wanted and retire your parents. If you wanted to spend quality time with your kids instead of sending them to another building 8 hours a day at a public school. So another thing I just thought about, parents really don't spend a lot of time with their own kids. As soon as you're able to be aware of the world around you for like 4 or 5, you're put into school where you're around other kids and other adults and teachers, but not your own parents. And they're around you for majority of the hours of the day. Like you see your parents in the morning for a little bit and maybe at night, but that's just it. Of course, you still see your parents like quite a bit, but think about how much time you're away from your parents whenever you're young. I never really thought about it like that, and it's just really sad. Like I get it, you have to go work and make money, but damn. Even your health. It's sad that a lot of people eat cheaper, lower quality foods just to save money. You can't even afford to fuel your body properly with good, nutritious foods because you're trying to save a couple of cents. You develop health problems and lower your attention span because of money. My point is, having financial freedom is extremely important, yet most people don't even think about it, and I do not know why. I know people are distracted and just want to be entertained and are completely numb to everything, but come on. Freedom is being able to do whatever you want, to get the most out of your time and your existence as a human. You cannot do this if you're broke. And hopefully if you're listening to this, you understand how important it is. But I just don't get why so many people skip this part. To be financially free, you need to have enough money so you don't have to worry about it anymore. The exact amount you need varies for each person, but the road to getting there is the same. Simply provide value to a lot of people. Produce, create, give. I like to make things simple, so I'm going to try to explain this as simple as I can. Money is an exchange of value. The more value you add to someone's life, and the more people you provide this value to, the more money you will make. Value can be given through a product, a service, information, or even a job. But a job is a pretty bad way of making money long term, but more on that in a second. Value is produced by providing something that someone wants or needs, like entertainment, housing, food, technology, and a lot more. Like a lot more. Damn near everything is a business. Everything around you is probably produced by someone who is profiting. Exactly what you can provide to other people, I don't know. No one can tell you step by step exactly what to do unless you're buying a business. But think about the last 10 things you bought and ask yourself why you got it. And if you can provide that to someone else instead of buying it yourself. Anytime you pull out your wallet to buy something, it's because you're getting something of value in return. Be the one to create the value and you'll be getting money instead. You don't need to do anything new or revolutionary. You can do or create something that already exists, but better, with your own spin on it, or just a combination of things. There aren't too many new original ideas anymore. The iPhone was a new product, but it was just a combination of a bunch of other things with a little spin on it. And every iPhone since then has been the same, but just a little bit better. Now, while you can provide value through a job, it's not good long-term if you want financial freedom, in my humble opinion. The problem is that it's not very scalable. You're usually not providing value to too many people, your control is very limited, and you're usually very replaceable. You will most likely never see financial freedom with a job, unless you wait until you're 65 while saving everything you have, hoping your investments go up after 4 decades. The only way I can see otherwise is if you find a job that pays you literal hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which is possible, but jobs like that usually take decades to work up to. A simple path to becoming financially free is becoming a producer rather than a consumer. Instead of consuming everything around you, figure out what you can produce and have others consume it instead. Figure out how to become more valuable. Everyone who has money produces something, aside from those who got lucky and won the lottery. They made or provided something that was valuable to the marketplace. And most of the time, you don't know what's valuable until you try it. This is typically why it's seen as risky to be in business. But you don't need to have a business to become financially free. You could be a part of a team or higher up in a company and have some kind of equity in the company. This is usually much safer, but either requires you to be inside of a company for several years or maybe even decades, or you need to have an extremely high skill set. This is a job, but you're much higher up, more important, and less replaceable. This is safer, yes, but the really big bucks usually goes to the one in control, who carries the most risk, power, and leverage. So my favorite way to think about money is value times scale. It's a simple equation that changes the way you think about money and explains why someone either has a lot or a little bit of money. The larger you make either side, the more money you will make. Value is how much you're providing for others, money. And scale is simply the amount of people that you're impacting. So if you provide more value to more people, you will make more money. Okay, cool. So ask yourself, is what you're doing currently providing a little or a lot of value to others? If you stopped doing what you were doing, how quickly could you be replaced? And then ask yourself, how many people are you impacting? And if they truly want or need whatever you are offering. Look at people who do and do not have money. How impactful are they to other people's lives? What are they producing? A lot of the time, the thing that people are lacking is scale. Sure, what you're doing may be amazing and important, but if it's not impacting that many people's lives, you simply are not going to be making that much money. Unless you provide an extreme amount of value to a few people. Like, if you can sell a $3 pen to everyone in America, you're a billionaire with a B. Value times scale. The reason why Apple is so valuable is because they got damn near everyone in the world paying them $1,000 for a phone. In the US alone, 135 million people have iPhones. That's $135 billion, not including any upsells like AirPods, MacBooks, subscriptions, or anything else sold in any other country. Or think about Jeff Bezos and then apply value times scale. Value, well, he's able to send almost anything to your front door the same day with free shipping. Just think about that for a second. Across all human time, just how valuable that is. And then factor in, he's able to do this for anyone, anywhere in the US, and I'm pretty sure in other countries, at the lowest price. This is why he's one of the richest men ever. I hope this makes sense. I'm saying all this in hopes that you start thinking about money differently. Not as something you get for trading your time for, but instead as something you get by providing value through leverage. People who have serious money think about money in a completely different way than most people. Work times hours is how most people think about money. The problem with this is that the hours worked is always limited to 16 if you're a superhuman. That's why trading your time for money doesn't work. It's always capped. Trading your time for money will only grow your wealth linearly. You want to find a way to make it exponential. Right now, there are people out there who are making more in 1 hour than what most people make in 1 year. Like in 2020, Elon Musk made $140 billion. If you're making $20 an hour and you worked every single second since 0 AD for the past 2,023 years, you saved every single dime, avoided taxes, living on nothing, you would have a quarter of 1% of what he made in 1 year. Your whole 2 millennium of work, your 17 million plus hours working straight, no breaks, is what he made in under a day. This might piss some people off, but hopefully if you're like me, it'll motivate you to show that there is another path, that this money does exist, and another human being just like you was able to do it. Now it would be dumb to say we can all be Elon Musk, but if you could get 1% of 1% of those results, you would be free. And just so you know, that's around $14 million. To make money, you cannot hate money. You can never expect to become free if every time you see someone who has money and is free, you get resentful and angry. If your goal is to be free, learn from those who are where you want to be. So how do you actually make this money? Once again, I don't know. I cannot tell you your exact path, but I'll tell you my plan and what others are doing. Today, a lot of people use the internet to make money because if you know how to use it, you've access to basically unlimited scale. And if you build this scale organically, you hit the jackpot. If you can put the right product in front of a specific group of people who are interested in that niche, you will make a shit ton of money. I always think about it like this. At the end of the day, money is made by getting people to buy something. People only buy something they want or need, and creating something that someone absolutely needs is harder than to make something that people want. We want more things than we need. People only buy the things that they know exist. Billions of people use the internet daily. All over the internet, there are groups of people interested in very specific things. So, if you know how to grab people's attention, you can get into these groups essentially for free and put something in front of them that they'd want to buy. To use the internet, you need to understand attention. If you can get people's attention, you'll make a ton of money. The more people's attention you can get for a longer period of time, the more money you are likely to make. All social media companies do this, and I'm doing it right now. Same with 1,000 other videos you've watched and everything else you see around you. But my goal is that you get something from this video to better your life. Companies simply just want your attention to put ads in front of you. So to put numbers on this, to show the power of this, let me give you an example. Let's say you're able to get the attention of 10 million people who love you. If you do this organically, and you're constantly able to reach these people, and you send them notifications and alerts every time you post something, you are never going to be broke again. If you just got 1% of your fans to pay you $100 a year for something that you're offering, you're making $10 million a year. If you can get 0.1% of these people to give you $10 a month for some extra content, you'll be making $100,000 a month. And if you can make what you're offering a digital product that's easily replicatable and distributed, then it is going to be almost 100% pure profit. This is what a lot of creators and people online are doing. People are not just posting just to post. They're posting because they're making a shit ton of money. So much money it would hurt the viewer to know. And a lot of them also understand that people's attention spans are very low, and sooner or later they will be forgotten. So they use the, for lack of better words, quick money to build a lasting business that can give them a huge exit in the future, or at least survive without them having to be the face of it so it can last longer. If you were on social media consuming rather than producing, you are missing a huge opportunity. The internet keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the rich keep getting richer and richer because it is getting easier and easier to make money. You don't have to start a social media business either, as it is very competitive, but if you execute on it like anything, it is very worth it. You can start a business doing damn near anything if you go deep enough. Every single thing around you is a business. Housing, business. Water, business. Cars, business. Hell, the people who manufacture the screen that you're looking at right now, business. Clothes, books, cameras, even dogs. Lights, toys, keychains, notebooks, toilets. Every single thing is a business. You just have to figure out what you can provide. And if you don't want to start a business either, that's fine. I don't think everyone should do it. I'm not one of these people that think like everyone should become an entrepreneur and a hustle and side hustles. Like, it is not for everyone. But if you don't do it, then you need to find a job that pays you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year quickly. And I say this because math. So I know a lot of people won't do this and are gonna skip this part. But for the 1% you do, it literally might change your life. I highly recommend sitting down and really thinking about how much money you need to retire. And when I say retire, I don't mean sitting on a beach doing nothing forever, because that would get old really quickly. Retiring isn't getting to the point where you no longer need to work if you don't want to, but like actually putting a number on it. Figure out where you want to live, the house, the cars, if you want kids, how much vacation time, traveling, pets, food, etc. This doesn't need to be 100% accurate, but just get a good idea about how much you'll need. You are never going to be financially free if you don't even have a plan. If you don't know how much you need, when you want to get there, and how, then you're never going to get there. My number is 10 million. I believe if I hit 10 million, I can basically do whatever I want, and I never have to work again if I choose not to. Let's say your number is 1 million. It'll most likely be more, but let's just say it's $1 million. Now, how are you going to get there? It's not just fine to say, oh, just work hard, but actually do the math to figure out how long it will take to make $1 million. Okay, let's say you want to make $1 million. Cool. To make this in 1 year, you need to find a full-time job that pays you $500 an hour. I don't know any, so let's just skip that. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year. Great. It'll take you a decade, saving 100% of your checks, living on nothing, and avoiding taxes to reach 1 million. That's clearly impossible. So let's say you save around 10% of your check instead. Now it'll take you a century. All right, so not that. Let's say you're smart and you invest. You open up a 401k. You put in $100 a month for 60 years at 7%, not touching it. You'll finally have $1 million at 78 if you started whenever you were 18. Let's do better. Let's max out your 401k. Starting at 18 years old, you put in $19,000 in every single year for 40 years at a 7% return, and you just let compound interest do its thing. Well, at the end, you'll have around $4 million. Wow, this sounds good, but it's not actually $4 million. 401ks are taxed as income tax. So if you took out $4 million, you'd actually get around $2.25 million. That's not bad, but you also pulled it out between the age of 59 and a half, and there's a 10% penalty on that. So let's just call it a clean $2 million. Cool, $2 million is double the goal. Well, it's been 4 decades, and the thing that most people leave out when thinking about retirement is inflation. In 4 decades, that $2 million will give you the buying power of around $600,000 today. So not even $1 million. And remember, this is you maxing out your 401k for 4 decades, starting at 18, which is completely unrealistic for majority of people. And even then, you're not free. This is why I think it is so important for people to actually do the math. A lot of people have fed into this lie that if you just save and invest, you're going to find your way to freedom. No, unless you want to live poor and die rich. The only way to be free and to actually enjoy your time you have alive is to get wealthy while you're young and not falling apart. Even if you try to like skew the numbers, have like a Roth IRA account, do all these different things, it doesn't matter. Like even if you're doing all these different things, you're never going to have a glamorous lifestyle by investing. 2,740 is how much money you would need to make every day for 1 year to make $1 million. If you sat down and you really thought about it, could you think of anything you could do to get to this amount? If someone put a gun to your head and give you a week to throw together a plan, even if it wasn't perfect, you could do it. Even if you missed the goal by 50%, that's still $500,000 a year. Even if you missed the goal by 90%, you're still at $100,000 a year. Instead of thinking of 2,740 as a number you get by making X per hour, think about it instead of value times scale. There are a million ways to make $1 million. You can sell a $1,000 product to 1,000 people. You can provide $250 worth of value to 4,000 people, etc. And before the thought pops up into your head, stop making excuses. People are doing this. People are doing 100 times this, 10,000 times this. Can everyone and anyone do this? No, of course not. It is a very privileged thing to even be talking about this. But if you're listening to this right now, you have the tools to at least give it a try. This is how rich people think about money. Not, oh, well, I need to find a job that pays me $300 an hour and invest into a 401k. Nobody who has serious money thinks that way. If you see anyone who has a lot of money by investing, they spent 50 years doing it and live like they were broke. And when I'm talking about making money, obviously this doesn't happen all at once. It takes a lot of time to build, sometimes years of struggling without seeing your results. The purpose of what I'm saying is to help you understand that there's a better way of thinking about money. Trading your time for money will not get you anywhere long term. Like, you need some form of leverage. Having a job in the beginning is cool, but not forever. The most valuable resource you have is your time. And with most jobs, to start making a serious amount of money is going to take you several years. Like, if you want to be a doctor, starting from age 18, it'll take you around 12 years to even start making money. 12 years of your life that you can never get back, not including the debt, the stress, or even the fact that you might not even like it after 12 years. And this is when you begin to start making money. Now, if it's your passion and something you truly want to do, that's fine. But if you want freedom, it might not be the best path. Starting a business is hard, arguably more difficult than a job because there's risk and sacrifice involved. But the thing I always say is, no matter what path you take, it's going to be hard. Time will pass and you'll reach the end. So why not pick the path that's going to give you the most at the end? The end result of a job is a predictable, stable, mediocre life. But the end result of a successful business is freedom to get the most out of your life. Now, market investments are only good once you start making money. Before you have any large sum of money, your number one investment should be yourself and only yourself. Focus on improving your skills and your education. Investing into things like stocks won't make you rich unless you wait until you're dead. Investments are designed to keep you rich once you already have money. If you invest $100 into a stock and it goes up 50%, which is really big, congrats, you only made $50. But if you had $10 million invested instead and it goes up just 5%, you made $500,000 that year doing nothing. Also, thank you for watching and listening this far. I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense, but I'm trying my best to really help someone out. If you could share this video to someone that might enjoy it or get something from it, then it would help me out a lot and it would help them out a lot too. So thank you so much for your attention, and I really hope I'm making it worth it. Also, if you want to know more about money, read these books and listen to these people. Please remember that the first type of freedom I talked about was physical freedom, and a big factor that plays into that is your youth, which is constantly fading. So in my opinion, to be truly free, you need to have physical freedom and financial freedom at the same time while you're young. And the only way to do this, in my opinion, is to start a successful business while you're young. I really can't see any other way unless you want to wait decades when you're old and broken. Or once again, unless you find a job that's paying you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year right out of college or something. I really don't see the point in having a ton of money when you're old and about to die, because you really can't do shit. Like Warren Buffett, it's really cool to be a billionaire, but bro is 92 years old. What the hell can you do with money at 92? Like, I'm seriously wondering, like, what can you do with money when you're 92 years old? I'm not saying it's bad at all, like, good for him, but that's not really super motivational for me. And once again, I don't think business is for everyone. I'm not one of these people to think everyone should become an entrepreneur and start grinding and doing all these different things. It is a very privileged thing to even be considering starting your own business. But if you're young and able to, I do seriously recommend thinking about it, like, now. Because if you don't, chances are you will never see financial freedom and you will live your entire life a slave to the dollar. I feel like a lot of people don't really focus on financial freedom and just think that money is something to not really think about. Like, money is one of those things we're just trained is a topic to not really talk about, like politics or religion. Like, having financial freedom is so important, yet most people don't think about it, and I don't know why. Like, I know people are distracted and just want to be entertained and are numb, but damn, like, you hear this all the time. The whole money doesn't buy happiness thing. How do you know? Like, no fucking shit. You can't just go buy a packet of happiness and go call it a day. But if money is so bad, then how come people who do have money don't just give it up? They only say money doesn't buy happiness once they've already gotten everything they've ever wanted. But they still don't give it up because they know that it's better than being broke. You will be unhappy at some point in your life. You could be unhappy at any stage in your life for 1,000 different reasons. But at least if you have money, you have options. You can stop, find a solution, figure something out. I cannot think of a situation when having money puts you in a worse position than someone who doesn't have any. Unless you're a multi-billionaire who's a slave to money and can't stop working and is on drugs, but that's so far out there, does it even matter? Really? Like, you don't want to make money because of a miserable billionaire somewhere that you've never met, you don't even know the full story to. That's why you shouldn't try to make more money or try to become free, because it's shit that you hear online. Like, you hear about rich people being slaves to money, how they're so unhappy and miserable or whatever, but that might be true for some of them. But that's who they tell you about. Like, they don't tell you about people who don't even show themselves. Like, have you ever thought about the possibility there's people out there you'll never see who are so rich and wealthy, who don't have social media because they realize it's all pointless, and are living their best lives truly free? People who are in places you've never even heard of. People who don't have any accounts, who don't post anything. It's just them and their families free. The idea that money makes you so unhappy and miserable sounds like horseshit. It sounds like an excuse to not even try. Most people are already unhappy, largely because they lack money, but somehow having enough would make your life worse. Why not find out yourself? In my opinion, aside from health, I believe it is the most important thing you can focus on, because it is the controller of your time and your freedom. And I'm not saying you gotta focus on this for the rest of your life, but just for a period of time until you get your shit together. If 8 hours of your day, every day, is given up to make money, you'll never be free. For perspective, if you work an average of 2,000 hours a year, it's more than that, but that's for another video. And you do this starting from age 16 to 64. That's 48 years. 48 times 2,000, that's around 96,000. Let's call it 100,000. 100,000 hours of your existence that you can never get back, gone, working a job you most likely will not enjoy. And then a lot of your time outside of this 100,000 hours is spent preparing, trying to distract yourself and try to have fun so you're able to go back and add to this 100,000 hours. And what's your reward if you make it through this 100,000 hours? A shitty retirement and then death. This is your one chance at living. You don't get another shot at this. You're a human. Why give up 100,000 hours of your limited life? Now, I know people have responsibilities and stuff, but damn, bro, like, why fall into the same trap? I get it if you're 45, 50, and you just can't stop working because of your circumstances. I get it. But I don't get why so many people my age, like in their 20s, don't think about this. 100,000 hours of your life doing something you don't enjoy or you barely enjoy. Like, for what? Seriously, for what? 2 weeks vacation? Benefits? Without money, you don't have control over your time. You don't have the ability to get things, to get the most out of your existence. You can't eat the healthiest foods, experience the things you want to experience. Certain experiences and sensations of life are closed off to you if you don't have the money. You can't even have the strongest relationships with those around you because all your time is given up to go get a check. You can't spend time with your kids. You gotta send them off to a public school because you gotta go chase a check. Your stomach is hanging because you're drinking every weekend with your friends. The little free time you have is spent distracting yourself with pixels on a screen because you're so tired from work. You can't even chase your real dreams because you're so tied to your job. Like, everything circles around money, whether we like it or not, unless you go live in the woods alone and hunt for your own food. If you want to get the most out of your human experience, you need to get wealthy, and you need to do it when you're young. Like, it's so important because as you get older, you just get more and more anchors weighing you down. You have kids, debt, mortgages, responsibilities, and things that keep pulling your attention and time that make it so much harder to get ahead. That's why people say if you want to do something, do it when you're young, because that's when you have the time and the energy to push you ahead. Doing big shit when you're 18, 22, with no debt, a lot of time, responsibilities, and energy is infinitely easier than you're 35, with 2 kids, got $100,000 in debt, a gut, and you're sleeping 5 hours a night with a full-time job. You need to figure out a way to get rich quick. And whenever I say get rich quick, I'm not talking about a scam or anything. Like, please do not fall for them. Like Forex, crypto, and whatever short-term business investment thing will not get you rich quick. You cannot get rich quick within a week, a month, or even a year without a lot of risk and luck. Most of the time, it takes 5+ years to get rich quick, but 5 to 10 years beats the hell out of 40. And once you achieve financial freedom, you can start living the life that you truly want to live. Whether or not you want mansions, a whole fleet of cars, or just a nice place to be with your family, it doesn't matter. But you can't have much when you're broke. Like, if you just stop consuming and just really focused on giving to others, money will no longer be an issue for you. We live in a culture when everyone just wants to consume, buy, and then complains when they don't have any money. Whenever I used to hear people say that if you live in America, you have no excuse to be broke, I would get frustrated because it's like, what do you mean there's no excuse? Of course there is. But now I've realized that they were onto something. Like, sure, of course, there's people in extreme, terrible conditions, but for most people, especially young people, there really isn't a good excuse anymore. If you have Google, internet connection, and time, you can accomplish wonders. I've realized now that most people simply don't want to make money bad enough. As weird as it sounds. Like, I'll give you a pass if you're old and you got a bunch of anchors weighing you down. But if you're young and you're relatively comfortable, you really don't have many, if any, excuses. If you can't tell me the last book or last video you watched about money, but you have a 9-hour screen time, then you don't want it that bad, which is fine, but just don't complain about not having money. And I'm not saying it's easy, and talking about making a ton of money is once again a very privileged thing, I know. But if you're able to watch this far into this video, you're already a lot more privileged than you think. Making money is not something you just fall into. If you ever want to be free, understand it does not come cheap. It does not come easy. It does not come without preparation and a burning desire to obtain it. It takes sacrifice. It takes planning. You cannot just sit around and just hope for shit to go right for you. If your plan to achieving freedom is to work for the rest of your life at a job and invest a couple $100s to a 401k or a Roth IRA, you are going to die without seeing freedom. If you do not have a plan for your life, someone else will give you a plan. And I promise you, it is not going to be in your best interest. Becoming financially free is simple, but not easy. Like almost everything else in life. Provide a value to a lot of people by giving them something that they want or need at scale. Achieving financial freedom won't solve all your problems, but it sure as hell will solve a lot. But in my opinion, it is necessary to becoming truly free in the modern world. Congratulations. If you made it this far into this video, or you skipped to this part, you're about to reach enlightenment like I promised. This is by far my favorite part of the video, because what we're going to talk about is the most important aspect when it comes to freedom. If you don't understand this, you will never be truly free. And I really mean that. The last type of freedom is mental freedom. I'm just going to call this happiness because that's basically what it is. Well, it's not, but it kind of is, but it is. I don't know, you'll see. This is the ultimate goal. The reason we do anything is in the hopes it can lead to some form of happiness in the future. And this is not sitting around laughing, kicking your feet all day kind of happy. No, it's reaching the stage in your life where you are fulfilled and don't need anymore. My definition of happiness is contentment with life. It doesn't mean you always have a smile on your face, but a smile is never far away. When most people talk about happiness, they're thinking about joy, which is unsustainable. Joy is a more intense emotion, a type of euphoria that's extremely powerful but fleeting. There is nobody who can walk around 24/7 smiling and laughing. Chasing joy will lead nowhere. At some point, the high has to come down back to your baseline. Happiness is this baseline. So the ultimate goal is to increase this baseline. So why is this important to freedom, you might ask? Well, as you may know, you are you, and you are your mind. And your mind is the only thing you will ever truly have. Every action you take, every thought, every word, every sensation, all come back to you and your mind. So if you don't even have control and freedom over yourself, over your own mind, there is no way you can be free. Mental freedom is what a lot of people lack. Most people don't know why they're doing what they're doing and are a slave to their own mind and emotions. The brain you're using right now to understand these words is the most complex thing in the known universe. You and everyone are given it for free, yet most people waste it. There's a lot of people who have depression and anxiety, especially today. And in my opinion, it's because they lack mental freedom. Without mental freedom, you won't only be a slave to the world around you, but worse, you'll be a slave to yourself. So I'm going to break mental freedom into 4 subparts: presence, fulfillment, desire, and acceptance. And before we get started, some people believe that mental freedom is everything. Some people believe that you can find freedom and happiness all from within, and you don't really need anything else outside of your mind. I get what they mean, but I do think you need some sort of outward freedom that I talked about earlier. Like, sure, you might find a way to be free and happy, but you won't be as happy or as free as you could be. It will always be limited. Like, once you have freedom over your body and your time, then I believe you can start to tap into true freedom. So, this is what I understand about happiness and freedom, my experience with it, and how I've become much happier, but more importantly, free. So be honest with me. As you've been watching this video, have you been 100% truly present? If so, thank you. But have you checked the comments, went to another app, had your mind on something else? If you have, it's normal. It's what most people do. But it's also the reason why most people aren't happy. Being present means to be fully involved and immersed in the moment in which you exist. This is when we humans are happiest, whenever you have zero thoughts other than what's right in front of you. Just think back to moments whenever you were happiest, like truly happy. You were most likely really focused on something or someone, not concerned about anything else. All problems and stresses were gone, forgotten for a moment, replaced by pure awareness and focused in whatever you were involved in. This is typically why a lot of people were happiest whenever they were kids. Because as a kid, you had nothing else to worry about other than what was right in front of you. Simple things like climbing trees or running around with friends was true bliss, because you had no other thoughts or responsibilities outside of that moment. That was true presence. But if you're like me, then doing this now is much easier said than done. Our minds are constantly somewhere else. We spend a lot of our time thinking about things that have already come, have yet to come, or will never come. Or we're just distracted, trying to find quick dopamine hits. We are very rarely focused on the now. It sounds corny, and I hate saying shit like this, but the only moment that exists is right now. And right now is the only moment that will ever exist. Even the future is just another now that is yet to come. So to worry about something that doesn't exist and is completely out of your control does nothing for you. So here's a quick quote that I think about a lot. I am an old man, and I've known great many troubles, but most of them never happen. I love that quote because if you really think about it, how many things do we worry about that suck us out of the present moment that aren't really that important? Like, think about it whenever you were younger and all the things you spent days and weeks worrying about that you can't even remember now. And sure, there are some important things that require attention and a bit of stress in your life, but most things we think about are either irrelevant, in the past, or an unreasonable fear that will never happen. In other words, they are things completely out of our control. And worrying about things that are out of our control is what we call a complete waste of time. The only thing you will ever have control over is yourself. And you only have control over yourself in the present moment right now. So having your mind focused on anything else other than your present self right now does nothing. Absolutely nothing for you. Like, really think about it, right? Like, what benefit do you get thinking about the past or having your mind somewhere else? Unless you're actively doing it to benefit your life in some way, it's a waste of time. Thinking about the past to learn from mistakes to better your future, fine. Thinking about the future so you can better guide where you want your life to go, stellar. But constantly losing yourself in the ocean of your thoughts, thinking about an uncontrollable past or future, useless. I've heard about presence before, but I never really understood the importance of it until I thought about what it actually meant and experienced it myself. I can give you an example. Right now, I'm making this video, but in the back of my head, I have the thought, I should be with my dog right now and give her attention. But then whenever I'm with my dog, I have the idea in the back of my head that I should be working on my video. So because I have the thought of right now wanting to play with my dog, it is taking me out of this video, making the video not as good as it could have been. But then if whenever I'm with my dog and I'm thinking about working on my video, it's taking me out of the fun I could be having with my dog. It takes me out of the moment with her. So whether or not I'm working or with her, I can't get fully into either of those moments because my mind is somewhere else, rather than focusing on what's right in front of me, the present moment I exist in. Imagine if we could just be in the moment right now and not have any other thoughts. Imagine talking to someone and not having any thoughts in your head about reaching for your phone or that one mistake you did 5 years ago, only focusing on their words and listening attentively instead of waiting to respond. The lack of presence is one of those things I think is ruining society. Like, I don't know if it's that deep, but with all the new technologies we have today, like social media, well, really mainly just social media, people's presence is basically gone. There's always something else to focus on or worry about. People can't focus on anything in the real world anymore. Like, I know you've seen it or experienced it, but you ever like see someone talking to someone and they're on their phone, or you see like a family out for dinner and everybody's just quiet with their necks broken looking down at a phone. Or it's even worse whenever you see someone on their phone while they're driving. Like, I get it if you're trying to like pull something on a map or change a song or something like that, but if you're fucking scrolling, like you're scrolling on TikTok or Instagram while you're on the fucking highway, what is wrong with you? Or it's like first thing in the morning, before we even brush our teeth in the morning, we're reaching for our phones. We're at the point now when we can't even take a piss in the morning because it doesn't give us dopamine. I mentioned it briefly, but to be truly present is to be in a bit of a flow and fully involved on what's right in front of you. Similar to whenever you're playing a video game or working on something complicated, but not too complicated, or learning about something that interests you. That is presence and what brings true happiness in humans. Centuries ago, we didn't have all these distractions, technology, and forms of entertainment. A large part of your day would have been just to focus on hunting or building, or just sitting around with those you love, completely focused on the present moment. Trees in nature are actually pretty interesting whenever you don't have a phone in your hand. Okay, so that's presence, but how do you fix it? First, understand that you are not going to be perfectly present 24/7, unless you're a monk or something. But this is what I do. Try to be aware of every action you take. Every couple of minutes, check in with yourself to see where your focus is and if you're taking actions towards a particular aim or just moving mindlessly. Your presence can be gained or lost at any moment, so it's not something you can just do once and then never again. It's ongoing. But the more you focus on the present, the easier it becomes next time. If you're going to be present, then typically you need something to focus on, something in the present to focus on. Whether it's your breathing or an activity or a book, it can be literally anything as long as it's in the present moment. It can also be nothing but yourself, but it needs to be something, even if that something is nothing. You gotta understand that your brain is a problem-solving machine. It loves to be fully immersed and involved in something. The number one thing that kills presence is distractions, and the number one distraction we all have is our damn phones. One of the most important things you can really do, honestly, just to improve your life simply and just get more out of your life, is to put your phone down. Your phone is probably the number one distractions that we all have. And you probably hear the advice a lot to, put your phone down and not be on it as much, but nobody really ever does it. Whenever I do put my phone down, it's shocking the results you get from it. And it doesn't even take that long. And one thing I thought about whenever I was rewriting the script is to turn off all your notifications. I've done this a while ago, and it's one of the best things I've ever done. Most people are getting hit with notifications from messages, social media apps, and apps they don't even use. Most of these notifications are not important at all and just cause you to get back on your phone to waste even more time. Like one time I looked at someone's phone and they were getting notifications from Netflix and Target. For what? Get rid of them. Your phone is probably the number one thing that causes you to not be present in the current moment. And I know it might sound kind of cliche, like get off your phone, but for real, try it. I'm willing to bet that most people know this, but still won't do it. Your phone is one of the most powerful devices of all time, and we use it primarily for scrolling and escapism. We are too addicted to our phones, and almost everything I say in this video will not matter if you can't even break your addiction to your phone. You will never be free if you're a slave to a device that's in your hand 24/7. If you are going to be on your phone, become addicted to using it as a tool to produce rather than consume. Use it to learn, create, and inspire, not to waste time on the toilet first thing in the morning. Even with other apps or things that you can do to try to, limit the time you're on your phone or try to get you to use it in moderation, just don't. Just simply delete the app and stop using your phone because you're going to end up making excuses to be back on your phone. And it's hard for like a day or two, maybe a week, but your mind will adapt. You'll start finding things interesting again and start working on your real goals. I know it's hard. Like, trust me, I know, and I'm still not perfect at this, but I've never wanted to do it, but I've never regretted it afterwards. There really is something beautiful about slowing down and just focusing on the present moment. I don't remember why or how, but one day whenever I was in college, I was just chilling. And then randomly, I don't know why, I was probably just sick of my life, I just turned off my phone and I sat in silence for a few minutes. I realized then that at any moment I could just stop and take in the world. It's always there. and will always be there. At that moment, I was the most present I've ever been in my entire life up to that point. The crazy thing is that I wasn't even focused on anything. I was focused on nothing. It almost felt like my life up to that point didn't even really exist. And it was the first time I was actually looking through my own eyes. You don't have to constantly keep on going and moving from task to task. You can't just, slow down and stop everything every now and then. Like, you ever have that moment whenever you're just walking around and then it just hits you like, whoa, I'm actually alive? It was the first time I felt that. Whenever you're constantly moving, you're not truly focused on anything at all, because there's always something coming after that that's stealing your current attention. It's like a buffet. There's always more. And because you're always looking at what's next, you can never fully digest what's right in front of you, what you just ate. When you actually stop everything for like 15 minutes, it's like, shit, this is actually nice. This is the world. It's always been here. It's always going to. It's quiet now, and will be this quiet whenever you and everything else is gone forever. You can achieve presence and mindfulness through meditation, which is really popular. It's just not really for me. I just like to stare at my ceiling or just walk around in silence and just look at things I don't usually look at. So I guess more like an active meditation, I guess. It's whatever works for you. But just get off your phone. That's the number one thing. Just get off your phone. The final reason you might not be truly present in your life is because you're constantly doing things that aren't aligned with your purpose and don't give you any fulfillment. But more on that in a minute. Actually, fuck, let's do it right now. Think of life as a blank canvas you were gifted at birth, for you to paint whatever you want on it. We have our whole existence to create the most beautiful, unique painting we can before our time runs out and it is lost to the void forever. Yet most of us create the most half-assed painting that we don't even care about. Or worse, we paint something that someone else wanted us to paint, completing their gallery but not ours. Think of your canvas. Your life and every action you take are different marks and colors. Every failure is a wrinkle. Every victory is a bold line. At the end of your life, how will your painting look? Will it truly represent you and inspire others? Or will it look the same as everyone else's, marked with colors of mediocrity? Will it be a mask, a cover-up, plagued with your own fears that you never conquered? Every passing second is another mark on your canvas, from a dot by your first breath to the final stroke of your last moment. The brush is in your hands, and you can create whatever you want. So why not stop and actually think about what you want to create with your damn life? I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant, but most people aren't happy because their entire life is spent doing shit they don't want to do. I'm not saying you need to walk around happy and doing whatever you want 24/7, but if you can't even answer why you're doing something, or if what you're doing every single day serves zero personal purpose to you other than paying the bills or trying to impress other people, you are going to live a miserable life. If you are walking aimlessly day to day with no goals, no ambition, no focus, no discipline, no nothing, you're wasting your existence. Now I know that this is a very privileged thing to say, but I believe that if you're watching this video, you are also privileged. Most people watching this video are in a comfortable room, you're safe, you have AC, clearly you have internet connection, and you probably have clean water, a full belly, and a bunch of stuff surrounding you. Compared to all humans ever, you are very fucking privileged. Hell, you've been watching this deep into a video on a phone about how to become free when a lot of people don't even know where their next meal is going to come from. So yes, you are privileged, so use it. Most people don't think about what they actually want from their existence. Most people haven't looked themselves in the eye and asked themselves, what the fuck am I doing with my one chance at existence? Think about death. Think about for the fact you are 100% or your money back guaranteed going to take your final breath and fade away into nothing. And then realize this is your one chance you have to be conscious and experience the human experience and how much of a privilege it is to not only be a human, but in your position in this time. And then figure out what you're doing with this little time you have, because it is fading and never coming back. It took billions of years to make you out of nothing but stardust and water. And now here you are for a few short years and you're gonna waste it all? You know how sad it is to walk around and see the look on people's faces? You can just tell they don't enjoy what they're doing or have any good reason why they're doing it. They're doing it because they're caught in the system. They have debts they have to pay off and responsibilities that will never go away until the day they die. They are trapped and will never be free. And not just by the system, but also in their own mind. They're living in this cycle of living to be entertained and distracted instead of getting their shit together. If you went up to them and you asked them, do you know what you're doing with your one trip around the stars as the most complicated thing in the known universe? And are you living in accordance to this purpose every second of the day? They would probably ignore you because they're on their phone. If you're older, I get it. Because once you start having all these responsibilities thrown at you, it's a lot harder to change your life and find fulfillment. You don't care about anything else except moving on to the next day. I get it, but it's a sad life in my opinion, especially if you know you could have had more, because you know they had dreams whenever they were younger and gave up at some point. You know that there's a kid in them that always wanted to have that thing or be that person. They're still in there, but life killed their soul in a living body. This is why it's so fucking frustrating to me how young they try to get people into this web. You're expected to know what you want to do with your whole life at 18 years old and give up 4 vital years of your life and go into life debt for something you don't even know you actually want. I'm 22 right now and I'm just now starting to think straight, I think. Probably not. Whenever I was 18, I was at least 6 times dumber. I've talked to several people my age whenever I was in college who had little to no clue why they were there. They were just there going through the motions because of what they were told to do. And unfortunately, most of them are going to end up like most people, slaving away, living an empty, unfulfilled life. Most people go into debt, get a degree they don't care about, get a job they don't want, they get a mortgage, a car payment, and then they have kids with someone they don't really like and met on Tinder, and then they realize that they fucked up at 30 and spend the rest of their life trying to make up for it until the day they die from a heart attack from eating too much Chick-fil-A. Now, I'm not saying I know what everyone's going through from a look at their faces, but I've talked to a lot of people, and the vast majority of them don't like what they're doing daily. Yet they continue. And I'm not saying college and getting a job is bad, but make sure it's what you actually want to do and make sure you have a good reason behind it. Not just doing things without thinking because someone else told you to do it. If you do what everyone else is doing, you won't be free. You won't be fulfilled and you'll die living nowhere close to the life you wanted to live. You'll die knowing that your one chance at life is gone. You'll die with every inch of your body covered in regret, dead dreams, and untapped potential. Please do not be one of these people. End of rant. I say all this because coming to terms that your life is limited will align you on the right path to live a life that's purposeful. It'll give you a sense of urgency to do what's important. If you want to get the most out of your life, to be truly happy and free, you need to do something that is fulfilling, something that is purposeful to you. If you don't know what you want from your life, then you will never get it. I define fulfillment as finding out what matters to you. Keyword, you. And going after it regardless of what others think. It's about figuring out what you actually want from your life, whether or not it's having a positive impact on others, or contributing to something greater than yourself, or sitting alone on a beach throwing rocks in the ocean, if that's what you want. I believe you need to have some sort of fulfillment to be truly free. But the thing about fulfillment is that it comes in a billion different variations and is different for literally everybody. I or no one can tell you how to become fulfilled in your life. It's a story you have to write yourself. Some people find fulfillment in sports, some with their kids, in science, art, music, jobs, business, traveling, politics, making doors, and a million other things. Don't think it's just that list. You might not be able to ever figure out what gives you true fulfillment, because it can change and has different forms. You can want to surf for 5 years and then move on to helping a charity for the next 7. It doesn't matter, but it needs to be something personal to you. This is all about finding purpose and meaning in your life. It's about pursuing your passions and doing the work that aligns with your personal goals. Whenever you are fully engaged and present in activities that you truly enjoy, want to do, and are fulfilled by, that is when you'll experience true happiness. That is freedom. It's one of the best feelings that you can experience, and it's what most people are subconsciously working towards. Even if the work gets hard and difficult, as everything will at some point in life, you can still find some joy in it, knowing it's your choice and aligned with your purpose. I've mentioned it before, but I don't believe there's a capital M meaning to life. We're just here and free to choose whatever is purposeful to us as individuals. This is why I think you can really pick anything to be fulfilled by, because in the end, we're all going in the ground. So before you get there, make sure the trip is worth it. You probably noticed this, but I keep saying you. You are the center of this all. You are the key to this puzzle. You are the only one who's going to live your experience. So you need to be the one to get the most out of your experience, whatever that means to you. You need to pick the path you are going to follow. Do not let someone else pick the path for your life. If you look at the happiest, remember, not necessarily joyful, most fulfilled people in life, they were chasing their purpose and heading towards their own fulfillment. Steve Jobs found his purpose in revolutionizing personal computers. Muhammad Ali found his purpose in becoming the greatest boxer. Harriet Tubman found her purpose in freeing the slaves, and on and on. Each path carries its own challenges. Pure happiness wasn't always there, but I'm sure at the end of their lives, if you asked them, they would do it all again. And what I'm about to say might sound extremely harsh, but I'm just being blunt. I don't know how else to say it. A lot of people live an unhappy life because they're not doing anything that is meaningful or purposeful in their lives. Most people live a life of working to pay the bills, distraction, and terrible health choices. A lot of people aren't doing anything that important with their lives, and they wonder why they aren't happy. A lot of people serve damn near zero purpose. I'm just being honest. And when I say zero purpose, I'm talking about on an individual level. Like, you cannot tell me someone's purpose for existing is to be a manager at Food Lion or sitting in an office all day. And I'm not saying everyone needs to be the next Elon Musk or LeBron, but is what you're doing even meaningful to you? If you were in a room alone with yourself and you could look back at your life choices and where you were headed, are you satisfied? If you find what you're doing meaningful, great. But I bet most people don't feel this way. And fulfillment doesn't have to be about achieving material success or reaching a certain level of status or wealth. It's about finding joy in the journey and doing work that you find meaningful. You find meaningful. But I do guess at the end of the day, none of this is truly meaningful anyways. So action. How do you find fulfillment in your life? First, I want to say, I'm just a young, talking, dumb, mortal monkey flying around a giant rock. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but this is what's helped me. So listen if you want to. To find fulfillment, it's important to reflect on what truly brings you joy. What are your passions and interests? What activities make you feel alive? What if you find yourself doing that got you into a flow state as you've lost track of time? What things do you think about when you're not forced to? Not just the activities, but what about those activities bring you joy? Was it the challenge? Was it because you were building something, creating? What is it? Also, this doesn't just mean bliss. I recommend not chasing pure bliss. The activity doesn't need to feel 100% comfortable. Most of the time, it's even uncomfortable in some way. And the activities don't even need to be activities. It can simply be in your mind, thinking. What are your values? How do you want your life to go? A good question is, if you were the last person alive and had access to everything, what would you be doing? Who would you bring? Hell, it might not be anything specific, and that's okay. You might not ever know, and it's a combination of a bunch of things, and it might take a lifetime to discover it. Maybe your fulfillment doesn't come from one singular thing, but it's by experiencing as much as you can before you're gone. And honestly, those are just pointers. There's no guide to finding what brings you fulfillment. It's really just a feeling that's constantly shifting, to me at least. And once again, I hate saying shit like this, but follow your heart. Seriously though, just stare at yourself or a wall for a few days and ask yourself why, until you reach the bottom of meaninglessness and build from there. To get straight to it, a simple question to ask yourself is this: when you die, what do you want to be remembered for, and why? And why that? And why that? And then ask yourself, if you weren't going to be remembered and everything you do, did, or become will be forgotten forever, then what would you want from your life? How would you want your life to look during your last moments of consciousness? How would your canvas look as it is lost to the void? And then come to the realization that that's what's going to happen. And whatever it is, because once again, I cannot tell you what it is for you. Once you find it, try to align yourself with it as much as possible, because why not? What do you have to lose? Strive to create the most uniquely beautiful painting on that canvas that you possibly can. Paint something that you want. It can be simple. It can be complex and huge. Hell, it can be nothing, but just make sure it's what you want. And then make it as well as you can. Put every ounce of energy you can into it. Because why not? Seriously, what else do you have better to do with your limited time alive? You are not going to make it out if you're alive. So why not do what you actually want? If you want to be free during this brief time you have alive, you have to do something fulfilling to you. To be truly free and happy is to be okay, content, and at peace in the present moment, and not wanting or needing anything else outside of what you already have. If you don't desire anything else, then you will be happy. Unhappiness is created through lack, through a desire to have more or something you don't already have. You are only unhappy because you lack something. Remove that lack by not wanting more, then happiness and awareness is all that's left. I know this sounds incredibly simple, but it is incredibly hard to do in real life. Most people never reach true peace. Most of us are constantly wanting more, especially in first world countries, feeling like we need this and that thing as we start to ignore what's right in front of us, as we're constantly trying to fill a hole that can never be filled. One of the most important things you can learn is this: humans desire the unattainable. This is useful in business and personal relationships, or even just within yourself. We typically desire a lot of things, but once we attain them, we want them much less or not even at all anymore. Think about a kid and a toy. That kid really wants that toy, but once they get it, they quickly don't want it anymore. But then if another kid comes along and tries to take that abandoned toy, now all of a sudden the kid wants it back because the toy has a chance of being unattainable again. You will always want what you cannot attain. And because you will never attain it, it will be a losing battle to the day you die, realizing the only way to win the battle was to not fight at all. Why are Lamborghinis so desirable? Because to most people, they're unattainable. Why do people get hooked onto people that they have no chance with, but ignore someone that they can get effortlessly? Because the other person is unattainable. Why aren't pennies seen as valuable as gold bars? Because they are more attainable. I hope this makes sense. Have you ever really wanted something and then once you got it, the hype for it just kind of died off? Like, look around your room or even a phone in your hand. Whenever you got these things, you were probably ecstatic to get your hands on it. But now it's probably just sitting in a corner or a closet and you throw your phone around like you don't even care about it. In my experience, it's like that for everything. And for what I've heard, it's never going to change. And the same thing goes for goals, which is very interesting. Most of us have probably heard to set goals and achieve them if you want to be happy. But happiness doesn't come from attaining the goals. It comes from chasing them. The idea that if you set a goal for yourself and you achieve it, you're going to be happy is false. So achieving goals when it comes to happiness doesn't really mean anything, because once you achieve them, they won't satisfy you for long. And shortly after, you're going to want to be working on something else. So whenever you're thinking about a goal, the outcome is important, of course, but really focus on the process that you're going to be living, because that's what you're going to experience 99% of the time towards your goal, not the 1% at the end. Now, I am not saying to not set goals for yourself, especially if the goal is something that will bring you fulfillment. Goals are good as they constantly keep us moving towards something, but it's the moving forward part that brings us happiness and fulfillment, not the end result. Think about it, right? Think about your biggest goal, and if you achieved it. I'm talking the perfect life. You have everything you've ever wanted and needed, plus more. You'll enjoy it, sure, but for how long? A week? A month? A year? And then what? At some point, you're going to end up desiring more again. Desire is an insatiable thirst. No matter how much you drink, you will always be thirsty. No matter how much you obtain, you will always want to obtain more. So the only solution is to remove the desires altogether, so that all that's left is awareness and appreciation of what's right in front of you in the present moment. The reason we desire more is because we believe that something else will give us more than the thing that we currently have. That being in that place, having more, having the newer, etc., whatever thing will make us happier. This might be true for a little bit, but soon your happiness level will reset again and you will begin looking for more and more, causing another valley of unhappiness because of your desires. Humans desire the unattainable. Humans desire true happiness, and true, never-ending happiness is unattainable. The only way to be happy is to remove all desires, including happiness. So, the only way to be happy is not wanting to be happy. It's kind of backwards, I know, but if you think about it, it kind of does make sense. Happiness is to be at peace with your life. If you keep saying that you want to be happy, then you will never be happy, because wanting to be happy means you're not okay with your life right now. It's a desire, not only a desire, but an unattainable desire. So you chasing happiness will never make you happy, because happiness can only be achieved by not wanting anything, including happiness. So the key is to simply remove all desires. This is incredibly difficult because humans at their core desire more. That's what's gotten us this far, an undying drive for more. But we've reached a point now when we have more than enough. All of our needs for survival are covered, and now all we desire is more stimulation and things. In the modern world, a lot of us are slaves to this because we can get almost anything we want instantly to our door on credit. In our pockets, we have an instant dopamine machine that makes us see and hear whatever we want. The apps we use learn from what we like to give us more stimulating content to consume. All of our desires can be met, with another shinier desire right behind it to take its place in seconds. We are constantly hit with ads and comparisons, showing us what we could have, making us want more. And companies are constantly coming out with more and more engaging apps and products for us to consume. Most people's whole existence consists of working a job they hate so they can buy things they can't afford and don't want to impress people who don't care and aren't worth impressing, not knowing that they will never find peace from external possessions and opinions of others. They are constantly trying to fill the bottomless pit of desires within themselves. So to make this simple, the happiness equation is this: haves minus desires. You can have a million things, but if you desire 1,000,001, you're going to be unhappy. But even if you have just one thing and desire nothing, you're going to be infinitely happy. Now, how practical is all this in the real world? I don't know. Realistically, I don't think anyone can completely get rid of 100% of their desires. It's our nature to want more. Some people think that peace can be found no matter what position you are in life, just by sitting down and meditating and just checking out of the world. I'm realistic, so I don't think so. I do believe that you need to have some of your desires met, but just being aware when enough is enough and you don't need any more. Like for me, I've noticed that if I simply just stop and just start focusing on things that I already have in my life, I realize that I don't really need any more. Like sure, there's things that I want, but if I didn't get that thing, would I die? Probably not. So this is what I do to check my desires. Whenever I see something new and I'm like, man, that's cool, I desire that. Like I don't actually say that, but you know what I mean. I then ask myself, if I didn't just see that thing or I didn't know it existed, would I still want it? The answer is almost always no. And most of the time, we have all these desires because we're constantly seeing things that we don't need. Something I just thought about is this. Like, yes, having desires makes us unhappy because it makes us want something that we don't have. Cool, but I'm also a human and I have desires and things I want for my life other than my needs, which are already covered. To be free of desires, there's only 3 solutions I can think of. So 1, either you get rid of all your desires altogether and want nothing at all, or 2, you obtain all your desires, meaning you get to the point when anything you desire can be yours, which is basically impossible because you will always want more. Or the third option, which I'm going to call contentment of the present while desiring more fulfillment. That's a shitty ass name, but this is appreciating what you already have right in front of you, understanding you don't need any more, but still at the same time working towards other desires without feeling like you need to achieve them. It's recognizing that you already have everything you ever really need from your life for the rest of time, but while you're here, still going for things that would make you fulfilled and happy, but not feeling like you need them to the point that it makes you unhappy not having them. Humans are happiest when working towards a meaningful desire. Yes, but don't get so lost in the pursuit that you don't enjoy the present moment and live your whole life in the chase. As long as what you desire is meaningful and purposeful to you, go for it. So to summarize, I'm not saying to completely get rid of all your desires because that's completely unrealistic unless you're a monk in the mountains. But try your best to realize that you don't really need that much, and chances are you already have more than you need. If your room is full of stuff and your belly is full, I promise you, you don't need any more. Understand that the more unnecessary desires you have from your life, the more unhappy you will be. because those desires will never bring you everlasting happiness. Empty desires lead nowhere. If you really do desire something, ask yourself, why? Does it bring you joy? Is it aligned with your purpose? If it does, it's a desire worth considering. If it doesn't, then it's probably not worth it. I mean, even if it's not purposeful and you want something random every now and then, just do it. Don't take it too seriously. At the end of it all, we're not going to be here one day, so none of it's really purposeful to begin with. Accept life for what it is. If you've been alive for any length of time, you realize that life is full of ups and downs. There are good days, bad days, things that hurt, and things that bring joy into our lives. But what does that even mean? From the moment we're born, society puts its own opinions and judgments onto us. We're expected to fit into this certain mold and think the same way. Certain actions and events are labeled as either good or bad. You're either successful or a failure. Certain things make us happy or sad. But who gets to decide what these labels mean? Who gets to define what success or happiness really is? We do. If you ask yourself why you think anything is good or bad, and keep on asking yourself why, you'll reach a point when you realize there really is no good reason why. You just choose to think that way. And if you can choose the way you think about things, why not choose something that's going to benefit you in some way? Really think about it. Nothing in life is truly good or bad. From a philosophical perspective, it's completely made up. Life simply just is. We simply just are. Something that's good to you might be terrible for someone else. Your worst day in life might be someone's best. You might hope for rain because you want your flowers to grow, while someone else might dread it because it's a funeral. The only thing that makes anything good or bad is our perspective, context, and how we choose to label it. Acceptance is about giving up on trying to control things you can't control. It's embracing everything about life and seeing life for what it is, removing expectations and labels of the world around you. It's about embracing the uniqueness of each individual moment and acknowledging that there is no one-size-fits-all definition of a happy, fulfilling life. It's realizing that your own thoughts and perceptions shape your experience. You can decide at any time to live a happy life if you simply make the choice. There's nothing good or bad, but what I think that makes it so. We cannot control the world around us, but we can control our minds and how we label things. This quote is a powerful reminder that our thoughts have the ability to influence our reality. Our thoughts are our reality. We control our thoughts, therefore we control our reality. Fuck, that sounds corny. Like, obviously I'm not saying you can literally sit down and be happy forever, especially if your life is shit. You can't literally ship your reality and become happy with a click of your fingers, which is why I hate saying shit like this, but it's true for the most part. I do believe that you need to have the first two freedoms covered before you even start thinking about this, because hearing you can shape your reality with your thoughts is some woo-woo shit. But most of us, especially in first world countries, have more than most people ever, yet we're still unhappy. And obviously I'm not saying all events can be brushed off as whatever and unimportant, but most of them can. Save tragic or traumatic events, damn near everything else can be viewed objectively without judgment. Also quickly, I just want to say, everything in this video is simple, but it is not easy. Especially this happiness part. The point is not to be 100% perfect at this. It is not to be 100% happy every second of the day. It is to be better and to keep working at it, so that when you look back at the end of your life, you can realize you actually made an effort to get the most out of it. Freedom doesn't mean that you won't have any problems anymore. It doesn't mean your life will be perfect forever. Freedom means you're able to choose your suffering. It gives you control over the ship to decide what journey you want to go on. At the end, no matter what you do, you won't make it out alive. So while you're here, breathing, listening to this video, decide what you want your life to mean to you. A lot of the time, happiness comes from stopping what you're doing, figuring out what you want and need from life, and making progress towards whatever you decide on. And then realizing and appreciating that you already have most of what you want and need from life, except for those really few small out there goals that you'll never really truly reach. And even if you did reach them, they wouldn't even make you that happy for that long. And to stop giving a shit about things that don't actually matter to you, so you can start giving a shit about things that actually matter to you. So that when you take your last breath, you realize that the point of life wasn't to be happy, but to live this weird ass game that we're all playing the best way you could have with a limited time you were given. Happiness as a whole is something that most people expect. Most people expect to have a certain level of happiness in their lives, and whenever they don't reach this level, they are disappointed and become more unhappy because they're not happy? What if we just accepted that happiness is not everlasting, nor is it something that's even necessary for life? What if you just dismissed the idea of happiness altogether and lived just because? Having no expectation for happiness at all, but instead just accepting all of life for what it is. We don't know why we're here. Some people might claim they do, but nobody really knows. So why do we think happiness is the goal? What if pain is the goal? Growth, accomplishment, love. What if there isn't even a goal and we're simply just? Like, why waste energy on worrying about external opinions and events you have no control over? No amount of looking up and screaming at the clouds is ever going to make the sun come out. So why not just sit down, accept it, and make the most out of it? Yes, life will throw us curveballs and challenges that will knock us off balance. But if we approach these moments with acceptance, we can turn them into opportunities for growth and appreciation. We can look at challenges and hardships as part of the human experience that we have the privilege to have awareness of for a brief period of time. Because once you get to the end, you won't be like, oh man, I'm glad I was upset and mad about that one thing. I'm glad I let fear stop me from doing that. I'm glad I let that person's opinion that I didn't even know for 100% fact they were having stop me from doing that thing I always wanted to do. Hell no. You're going to be glad you got to experience everything, good and bad, because you realize that it wasn't even good or bad to begin with. It just was. And you wasted a lot of fucking time putting labels on events as bad instead of just enjoying the moment. Because soon it's going to be gone for an eternity. The human experience as we know it is the most rare and beautiful thing in the universe. And for you to experience it while living in the best time thus far, with more opportunity, tools, and knowledge than anyone ever, and still waste it, is a definition of a tragedy. The truth is, no one has it all figured out. Nobody has anything figured out. We're all just navigating through this unpredictable journey called life. And maybe, just maybe, the beauty lies in the chaos and imperfections of the human experience. Life simply just is. And the quicker we learn this and accept this, the faster we can appreciate the life we have instead of always trying to change it. The faster we can appreciate that we're self-aware and able to experience anything, period. The only thing you have control over is your own mind and the way you react and respond to life. Anything outside of that is outside of your control, and no amount of stress or worrying can change that. So accept it for what it is and stop worrying about it. Accept everything. Accept the world is not and will never be perfect. Accept that there are no true rules to life. Accept that pain, struggle, confusion, resistance, and fear will always be a part of life. Accept that no matter what path you take, it will come with difficulty. Accept the fact that we'll never know why anything is here at all. Accept that we are all going to die one day and be forgotten forever like the billions before us. Accept that life simply just is. Because at the end, it is your acceptance of the world and universe in which we exist in its totality that will give you true peace and set you free in a modern world. Just enjoy the ride as a sentient piece of meat in an infinite, unforgiving universe before time runs out. So this is a bonus part for people who have a higher attention span and made it through the whole video. I'm just going to talk from the heart and just leave you with this. Well, I want to give you the best piece of advice that I can. It's unsexy, but it's helped me a lot. And I feel like everybody has to do it at some point. Like anyone who does anything meaningful in their life has to do this at some point. And the best advice I can give to you is to think. This isn't really a key to happiness or a ticket to freedom or anything, but I really do think sitting alone in your thoughts can change your life, or at the very least improve it in some way. Like at the very least, it won't hurt you. And thinking as in those thoughts that you get at night whenever you're alone in your room and you quickly try to throw them out of your head. Like genuine, alone, quiet thinking. It might sound kind of weird, like how does thinking lead to anything? Well, when you sit alone and think, you're removing all distractions and the only thing you have is yourself. And then you realize that the only thing you'll ever have is yourself. That very moment. Every sensation, everyone, everything is temporary except for you. And then you realize that all your problems and everything you're doing in your life all comes down to this: you alone in your head. After you achieve all your goals, everyone leaves, and the music stops playing, you're just going to be back in your head. It's where everything stems from and where everything is headed. So whenever you sit in silence, you're in direct connection with the source of everything. All your problems, your pains, motivations, insecurities, everything. Your entire consciousness and awareness of the world around you right there. I think it's very important because most people don't really sit down and think. Most people are always distracted either with work or their phones. Like the thing about videos like this about how to actually improve your life, it's kind of a paradox because the real way you actually improve your life is just to put your phone down, remove distractions, and think. You would be shocked what your brain can come up with if you just let it run. But most people never do that, or they know to do it, but they don't actually do it. Most people don't ask deep questions about themselves, and they spend their entire life lost. If you don't sit down and ask yourself where you're going, if you're on the right path, and why you're doing it at all, where do you think you're going to go? How do you ever expect to get anywhere that you want if you don't sit down and question every single belief and thought that runs through every single brain cell? If you don't question your whole existence and the point of you or anything, how can you expect to start to figure this life out at all? You don't need to find all the answers, but at least question. I don't know, like I realized for me, if I just think and stay locked in my head and confront everything, I start to worry a lot less about life because I realize that it's all heading back here. Like monks who spend most of their life in meditation, it's because they realize that it just all comes back to the mind, and everything outside of it really is just a distraction. Now, I don't agree with 100%, but it does make sense. And I believe we can take some aspects of that. I'm not a monk and I don't ever want to be. But whenever I do just turn off everything and I focus on my mind, it's stressful for a second because so many things come out of nowhere. But sooner rather than later, peace takes over. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I thought it might help someone. It's one of those things I feel like is obvious, but a lot of people just don't do it. I used to always feel lost whenever someone asked me what I wanted to do with my life. It took me years to realize that all I really wanted was freedom. We humans have the curse to think into the future. It can help us plan and change our lives. But inevitably, if we keep looking out further, we're going to reach the black barrier of death. That distant final period of my existence scared me to my core. No one can comprehend the infinite nothingness that awaits us. The unexperienceable experience we will all soon experience. It makes the life we have right now that much more precious. And I'll be damned if I waste my one chance at life at a job for 40 years slaving away like everyone else, especially when I have the ability and opportunity to do and have more. If you made it to the end of this video, then hopefully you're like me. I want to have a full experience. I want to choose how my story will go. So whenever I'm about to pass, I can look back at my life with a tear in my eye, knowing I lived my life my way, and knowing I did the best I could with what was given to me, knowing that although my life was brief, confusing, and just another meaningless life to the universe, I can appreciate with my whole being that I was a being at all, and how much of a strange privilege it was to even exist. Yes, I might die still lost. I'll die and I might be forgotten for the rest of time. I might die not knowing what it was all for. I might die not having anything close to an answer of why anything is. But I existed for a time, for a second. I was there and I did it my way. And that's enough. And that's enough. And that's enough. Now I can rest in peace, knowing I was free.